Clancy, and oh my gosh, it feels so good to be able to just like speak as loud as I want at the top of my vocal cords. Just kidding, that's obviously not the top of my vocal cords, but yes, this is amazing because right now I'm home on fall break from college, and when I film at college, like, it's just like, the walls are so thin, people can hear me. It is a weird circumstance. Like my friend Kayla the other day was like, oh, I heard you filming right when I was getting ready for my 9:30 class, and I was like, I was. But today I'm gonna be coming on here basically just telling you guys some dumb things that I did when I was little that I regret doing or that I wish I didn't. And this is just gonna be advice to my younger, dumber self. And you know, I've come to the conclusion that this whole YouTube thing is just me putting myself out there in a really negative light in the hopes that you can maybe learn from it. Like, I swear, like, there's just no hope for me being seen as like a normal, nice, good human. That's just what it is. That's just what, you know? Ugh. So I'm gonna be going through from every single year from 6 years old up until the end of high school. I feel like college could just get its own video, you know. Let me know if you'd like to see that by leaving a comment down below, giving this video a thumbs up, just in some type of way. I never want to ever be the type of person like, give this video a thumbs up if you want this. Like, no, I want, if you really don't like this video, give it a thumbs down. But, you know, okay, now I'm rambling, let's begin. At 6 years old, I would tell myself, don't try so hard to fit in. 6 years old is when I moved into the house that I'm currently living in, and I, you know, I had a whole new set of neighbors, and I met Carly, who was like my current best friend ever. But Carly was very into sports, and she was very tomboyish. Like, pink was not allowed and girly dresses, no. Honestly, like, that's who I was. I loved pink, I loved dresses, I loved Barbies, okay? But I momentarily, like, when I say momentarily, I mean for my entire childhood, threw all of that out the window because I thought I needed to fit in with Carly and with all of my neighbors. Like, I literally wasted my childhood. I'm not kidding. Like, whenever Carly came over, I would like throw my Barbies in the closet and lock them up and pretend like I was this tomboy person who didn't like pink dresses. I don't remember. I forgot what they even were for my entire childhood because, you know, that's just not what my neighbors wore, and that's just not what they did. So I had this whole thing where I tried so hard to fit in, and it's such a disgrace because I literally like wasted my childhood. I didn't waste my childhood. I actually literally had a great childhood, but I was not myself, and that is insane. It's insane to think about that I cared that much. At 7 years old, I would tell myself to embrace my age. Having a brother who was 3 years older than me was tough because sometimes he'd be allowed to do things that I still wasn't allowed to do. And naturally, you know, like a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, you know, you do different things, like you're allowed to do different things. And I remember on one particular instance, my brother's name is Neil and his friend, my friend also, our neighbor Eddie, wanted to walk into town, and my mom was like, okay, you guys can walk into town. It's like their first big walk into town because, you know, when you're young, you can't do that. And I was like, yes, we're gonna do it. But then when I asked my mom, she said, absolutely not, you're only, you know, 7. And I freaked out. I just remember literally I was like, I'm walking, and meanwhile, like, I was very, you know, I obeyed my parents, very obedient kid. I remember just running up to my bedroom, throwing myself on my bed, and like scream crying. Did anyone else used to do that? Like where you're like, ah! I guess, I don't know, just to like punish my mom for not letting me, like, now you have to listen to this, even though like it would literally make me like sick. So anyways, I launched into the scream cry. I hear a knock at the door, and I think it's my mom, so like I scream even louder. I'm like, ah! Okay, and then I hear Clancy, and I'm just like, what? That's not my mom. My neighbor opens my door to ask if I want anything from the candy store, and he heard all of my scream cries. And so anyways, once he left, I cried harder. I was like, this is humiliating. At 8 years old, I would tell myself to be nice. And I went through this weird phase. I wouldn't say a phase, it was just this moment where I thought that being mean was cool. Like, it's just one of those things where you're a kid and you just don't realize, I guess you could say. Is my neighbor really serious right now? You're gonna mow your lawn and do all that stuff when I'm filming a video? My brother kind of influenced me because I was telling a story and I was like kind of mean to someone, but in an accidental way, and my brother laughed. And at the time, to gain my brother's like approval, like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. So I was like, wow, being mean is the answer. And I remember we had a new kid on the bus who was like 3 years older than me, and I don't remember the exact circumstance, but I know that I just wasn't nice to him. Like he said something and I said something like sassy, and I was like so excited to tell my brother at the dinner table that night. And I remember when I told him, my mom was just like, Clancy, like, that's not nice, what the heck? And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's not nice at all. And it's just weird. It's just so weird to think, like, you see kids when they're mean and you're like, how can they be mean? Like, how, like, they're evil. Like, that's what I think. I'm like, how could you possibly be mean? But, you know, like, sometimes it's just, you really don't know any better and you're just a kid and you need to be taught that no, you can't be mean. And so I don't know, it's just like a weird thing that I always think of. I don't always think about it. It doesn't keep me up at night. Like, remember that time when you were in 3rd grade? But it's just like, I don't know, I would just tell myself, be nice. At 9 years old, I would tell myself, don't buy Heelys. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys remember these things. They were like shoes, but they had wheels on the bottom, so you could like be like walking, then all of a sudden like rolling past people, and they were, oh my gosh, I've never wanted an item so badly in my life. I got them. I honestly spent like weeks training on them, you know, because there was like a learning curve. You kind of have to be like cool, calm, and collected. I don't know what I'm saying. One day, I'm heeling along my street. a pebble got caught in it, flat on my face. I've gotten injured so many times. I've never had so much blood pouring out of one location. Guys, I literally thought I broke my face. I thought I was gonna die. I literally, like, when I picked up my head, I just will never forget, I just see drop, 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 blood everywhere. And to this day, actually, still a fun fact, of a scar above my left eyebrow that will probably always be there, and it's just always a reminder that Heelys suck. And no, I never wore them again. At 10 years old, I would tell myself to brush my hair because I apparently just didn't think that brushing my hair was necessary back then. I remember I would literally go weeks without brushing my hair, and there would be huge knots, and I would cry. I would cry as I would try to brush them through. I would cry as my mom tried to brush them through. I would cry. I have no words. I don't know. I went the whole tomboy thing with Carly. Like, we were just very much like, we're gonna play in the mud and like not brush our hair. Like, oh God, At 11 years old, I would tell myself to hug Kelly. And Kelly was the dog that, my very first dog actually. I've only ever had 2 dogs in my life. My dog Molly, now you guys know, and then Kelly. I actually got Molly in Kelly's last year of life. We got Molly, she was a new puppy, and I kind of, like, I don't want to say abandoned Kelly. I did not abandon Kelly, but when you have a puppy, you want to be holding that puppy. You want to be playing with that puppy, and I don't know, like, Kelly wasn't as fun to play with. She was old and she couldn't really walk, and I don't know, but I always felt so bad. Like, I didn't want to play with just my puppy, but I would. And I don't know, like, I just always feel so bad. I feel like Kelly, like, she was so jealous of Molly also, and it's just so sad to think about. So I would tell myself to hug Kelly and really be there for her. At 12 years old, I would tell myself, don't let fear get in the way of your life. This is when, as you guys know, I had my anxiety, and when I ate a tree nut and I almost died, and I just basically stopped living for this whole year of my life. Like, I was terrified of death and of dying and of my throat closing up again, and I wouldn't leave my house. And I would tell myself, you know what, like, you're gonna die some way, you know, like, I don't know, it's just don't let fear get in the way of living your life. For 13 years old, I have a double. One is ditch that friend, because I had a friend kind of all throughout my life, and she just ended up turning into the worst friend ever. She would be so mean to me and make me feel so sad and bad about myself and constantly ditch me and this and that, and it's crazy. And you know what? Letting go of a friendship that you've had for so many years is hard and difficult, but you can't hold on to something just because it's been there for so many years, just because it's familiar, just because you feel like you're supposed to. No. So I eventually was like, goodbye to this friend, sayonara. I mean, I didn't even say goodbye, pretty much like happened itself, but I would tell myself in 8th grade, when I was still like, we have to be friends, or like, why is she being like this to me? I'll tell myself, goodbye, sayonara, like, tell her see you never. Also, on a similar note, I would tell myself, don't be afraid to wear makeup. This is when I first started wanting to wear makeup and be girly and kind of, you know, get into that side. But I don't know, I was like embarrassed to want to wear makeup, and I would see the girls in my grade, you know, wear it, but I was too scared, and I was scared of what my family would think, what Carly and And I remember the very first time I wore makeup. First time I actually, like put on like mascara and like, oh, I remember this like bright pink lipstick that I found in my mom's makeup bag. And I remember I was looking in the mirror, I'm like, alright, I'd like plan out strategically like going downstairs because I knew like my mom and my brother would obviously see that I looked different, and I was like, we're just gonna act casual. So I remember I walked downstairs and I was like, hey guys, and my brother's like, you look like a clown. Just marched back upstairs, scrubbed it off my face, and like forgot about it for a few months because I was like, this is humiliating. At 14 years old, I would tell myself to be nice to Neil, my brother. I don't know why, guys, but in 9th grade, in my freshman year of high school, I like had this weird hatred of my brother where I just thought he was evil. I didn't want to talk to him. Everything he did annoyed me. It was like weird, and you know what, like this is kind of, it's weird to even think about now, like why did I feel this way so strongly, but we would get into the worst fights ever. One of them, I took his iPod to school and he destroyed my bedroom, like literally destroyed my bedroom, ripped up like my book that I published and everything like that, and we would just get into the worst fights ever, and I would tell myself, honestly, just freaking be nice, like what the heck. At 15 years old, I would tell myself, chill out, it's just a haircut. I went through this phase where I would get haircuts and I would freak out. Like I would think I was just the ugliest person ever because of this haircut, and now everything is destroyed, my whole life is over. I'm not even kidding. I don't know how or why. Like now I could go into the hair salon and like really anything could happen and it's just whatever. I don't even care. Back then, oh my gosh, a haircut was enough to set me into a deep sadness for a week. Ridiculous. I just cared so much. Ugh. At 16 years old, which was when I was a junior in high school, I would tell myself, chill out a bit. Don't be so obsessed with school, because I went through this weird phase junior year where I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't really, lay down the law and like really get into it, I'm never gonna get into college, and I would not go out with friends on the weekends sometimes. Like this was just for like a little phase in my junior year, just because like I feel like I had to study and I feel like I had to be this like cerebral person who read books and did this and did that. And ironically enough, that's kind of how I like to be now, but that's by choice. Back then I was like, you need to do this, and it's crazy, like oh my gosh, like calm the freak down. Because sophomore year I did slip up a bit. I finished with a B average, I think, instead of, normally I've always just like A's. I like to get A's, I like to study, I like to do well. And so I did slip up a bit. So I feel like in order to compensate for that, I went into overdrive my junior year, but I would tell myself, like, honestly, it's your junior year of high school, like, it's not that serious. Nothing is that serious. I can look back on my freshman year of college and say, it's not that serious. When you look back on everything, guys, you realize that nothing is ever that serious. Like, the only things that matter are your health and the health of your family, and just these things that you think matter so much don't. And at 17 years old, it was hard for me to think of something for my senior year of high school. But one thing I would tell myself is enjoy prom. I don't know why, but I was one of those annoying people who was so anti-prom. I was like, I don't care about anything, like, whatever. I remember the night before while everyone's getting their, like, spray tans and, manicures and all of that, I was literally just, like, chilling, hanging out with people. I didn't care about anything. I ordered a random dress online. Not random, I liked the dress, but the whole, like, my mom took me shopping one time, and I just couldn't do it. I tried on 2 dresses and I'm like, we need to leave. I just don't care enough. And I also would go with my friends. I went with a group of people, and this is a tip if anyone is going with prom. I went with like a really large group of people who I was acquaintances with, but none of them were my best friends. Well, except I went with, a couple of my best friends, but I would have rather just do like a close-knit thing like that. So I don't know, I feel like you're always in life, you're always just better off surrounding yourself with fewer, better people than just a whole bunch of like acquaintances. I don't know, so. Except, obviously sometimes, chill with acquaintances, but for things that matter, it's quality over quantity, and that's something that I've learned all throughout my life. But wow, okay, so that was just some advice I'll give to my younger, dumber self. As you can see, I've definitely made some mistakes, I've definitely been dumb, I've definitely regretted some things, but at the end of the day, of course, they're not regrets because I've learned from them. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, or a thumbs down if you don't like it, of course. And hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to stay up to date on all of my videos and join the famiglia of life. And let me know in a comment down below, is there anything that you kind of regret about your younger self, any regrets that you have throughout middle school or high school or when you were younger? I want to know. So I'm gonna go, but I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.